Well, folks, he's at it again. The former mayor of Miami Lakes, Michael Pizzey. You remember last year when he was suspended from office facing charges of bribery. Later on, a court cleared his name of that crime, but by then, another mayor was already in place. Still a victory for him. He's obviously very excited, as you can see. Miami Lakes voted for another mayor, Wayne Slayton, to fill in, and ever since then, Pizzey has been trying to force his way back into that corner office. During the height of the election season, just this last November, Florida Supreme Court pressured Governor Rick Scott to make a final decision, but he put it off. He was locked in a dead heat himself with his own challenger, Charlie Crist, and didn't want to rock the boat. But now that Scott secured his own bid for re-election, he and the Supreme Court both ruled that Pizzey was officially cleared to return, but both have stopped short of demanding Slayton vacate his position. So now you've got two mayors, one city, and now Pizzey is officially filing a second lawsuit claiming he does have the right to take back his job. Now, he wants the Miami-Dade County Circuit Court to force the town officials to restore him to office. Now, if and when he does get back to office, it's unclear if he'll have many friends left in that town. Also part of Pizzey's lawsuit, he wants the city of Miami Lakes to foot the bill for his legal costs. And we told you about this story earlier this week, and now it's moving forward. New progress. City officials in Delray Beach went ahead and signed off on the preliminary approval. The next step is a public hearing and then the final vote to ban electronic cigarettes indoors. Now, Commissioner Adam Frankel says too many people are complaining about the e-cig in public places, and he says they shouldn't have to be subjected to the smell and the vapors and all that comes along with it. Now, if the city does officially ban the e-cig, they would not be creating a new law on the books. Instead, they would just be expanding one that already exists. The Florida Clean Indoor Act already bans normal cigarettes. Now, this law would treat e-cigs very much the same way. You would still be allowed to puff on your e-cig in places inside your home, retail tobacco stores, designated smoking guest rooms, and bars that stand alone by themselves, separate from a restaurant, or also, of course, if there's a medical or scientific study happening about the e-cig, of course, that's allowed indoors. The final vote for approval will take place on January 20th, and a public hearing prior to that. In other news, a lot of people upset about the testing in Florida's public schools. If you think parents are upset, you should talk to the students. But now the education debate is heading to the state Senate, where Education Commissioner Pam Stewart plans to do away with the FCAT and adopt the tougher testing system, the Florida Standards Assessment. Now, as you may already know, this is part of the nationwide Common Core standards adjustment, and we'll likely hear a lot about this on the national scene for the rest of the next 2 years, while presidential candidates all line up and argue and debate with education standards. Now, many conservative voters feel the Common Core is a federal overreach that limits state rights, but the Obama administration insists that is not the case. Also, former Governor Jeb Bush, a big proponent of the Common Core. In Hollywood, there's a new city manager and a new paycheck to come along with it. The guy in charge of the books isn't holding back, especially when it comes to his own salary. Wazir Ishmael took over as interim city manager last month, December 1st, and now that position's official, he's about to get a big pay raise. Now, until now, Ishmael has been in city office making about $154,000 annually. But now that he's moving up, taking over as the top boss, his salary is about to jump to $189,000, $500 per year. Now, on top of that, he'll get a $500 car allowance every month. Now, that car allowance alone is more than enough to lease a brand new Jaguar XF model, a luxury sedan, and still a few dollars left over on top of that. Right now, Ishmael's getting nearly a 20% bump in pay, earning over $10,000 more than the last city manager. His contract is good for at least 2 years. City commissioners had to put the rubber stamp of approval on that on the raise during a meeting on Wednesday. And in other news, a biohazard scare at the Homestead Air Force Base. It sends 4 people to the hospital. It's supposed to be a very safe place there. Now, Miami-Dade fire rescue officials raced to the scene as fast as they could, responding to emergency calls. Now, right now, they're still not saying much about exactly what happened, but we do know there was some sort of chemical spill inside the Air Force Base. Authorities say cleanup crews were able to contain the problem and resolve it in a timely fashion. But from what we're hearing from the fire crew, only a few cups worth of that unknown chemical spilled out. Just a few cups, but that was still enough to expose 4 people and send them on their way to the hospital for treatment observation. Right now, there's no word on their condition.